Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our IT 299 internship interviews for this semester, which is spring 2026. Today, I have another interview with Isaiah Lowe. How are you, Isaiah?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. Isaiah is one of our cybersecurity students, and he's going to talk today about his trajectory into IT and his internship. So, the first question I typically ask people, Isaiah, is, when did the technology bug bite you?
I'd say probably my senior year of high school. I actually had a buddy who graduated from Mount West. His name is Braden Tooley. He pretty much just brought home some things and showed me, how to do the IP config things. And, he was just showing me a couple of cool stuff to do, I guess. And I don't know, I guess that's just when I got interested.
That name sounds familiar to me. So I think, I had an interview last week with Alex Carter, and he mentioned he knew Keelan Lambert from here. Braden Tooley is one of our former students. So that may work its way into stuff here. But so you were playing around, seeing some stuff, exploring technology with him. Were you able to do a lot of that stuff through high school? And then at that point, were you saying after high school, I want to go into IT? Or at that point, was it just a hobby?
In high school, we didn't really have any options to do anything with IT. We more so just had a writing class. So we didn't really have any tech classes. So it was more of a hobby, I guess you could say. But it's kind of just something I picked up and found interesting. So I just rolled with it.
So you graduated high school. It was a hobby. What made you go ahead and say cybersecurity, IT is the way you want to go?
Just the way the world's going now. Everything's going digital. Pretty much if you're not in the medical field or blue collar, IT is pretty much the way to go. I mean, not saying that you can't do anything that you want, but if you're looking to where the money's at, I would definitely go IT.
Makes sense. So at what point there, when you were like, I'm going to go IT, did you find Mount West? Is this where Braden comes back into the topic?
Yeah. Actually, my aunt suggested me go to ACTC over in Ashland. But this was just more local to me. A few of my friends went here. Drew Clark as well. He graduated from here too.
Mm-hmm.
They just said that you guys were a great school and that you had a good cybersecurity program, that the professors were great. So gave it a shot and I liked it.
Sounds good. I mean, I don't know if it entered into the equation, but I would have thought potentially if ACTC was in Kentucky and you were in West Virginia, it might have also worked out that we were cheaper. I knew like at one point I had some friends who lived in Kentucky and wanted to go to Marshall, but the amount of money they were going to have to pay to go to Marshall was out of state tuition. So, I'm happy you landed here. That worked out well for us and hopefully worked out well for you. So you came here and you chose to go through our network systems cybersecurity option. Is there any advice you would have for people, you being on the end of that journey through cybersecurity, any advice you would have for them based on things you wish you'd done or things you could have looked at more, that type of thing, based on where you are versus where they are?
I would say don't stay caught up with school. Everything is different. You'll deal with different situations and different ways to deal with different situations. So just because you don't do good in school with it, doesn't mean that you're not going to do good outside of school. I've been shown multiple different ways how to do multiple different things that I couldn't figure out through the program. So it's just really just how you feel to take in the information. It could really make a difference.
So potentially don't get discouraged if there's one particular topic you can't figure out. Don't think your IT career's over.
Absolutely. Don't give up because there's always another option.
Yeah. I mean, I used to jokingly say on a test, there's the Microsoft answer, there's a Cisco answer, and then there's the real world answer you're going to do out in the field. So, in that case, if you're like, I don't understand their way, there are 95 other ways to get stuff done. So, if you learn that the way, like was something I'm asking in class, I'm like, hey, if you already have a system, go for it. Just ignore me. Like everybody gets there on their own. As long as you get there is the important part. So you're here at the end of your cybersecurity degree, and you've been doing your internship with a local company called Digit 3. Had you already had any jobs before you were working for Digit 3? Like any experience in the job field?
No IT experience at all, actually. I worked at a food fair down the road, actually.
So you at least had a job, I guess.
Yeah, I had a job. I had a working experience, but I had no really IT experience whatsoever.
Gotcha. Well, because what I was going to ask is, having that food fair job, are there similarities to what you have to do? I'm sure you got to clock in or whatnot, but like, can you speak to things you might have thought was myths you might have assumed, that type of thing, when you started working for food fair, and also myths you might have assumed when you started working for Digit 3 that were different, type of thing, like based on your work experience for people who haven't worked?
I mean, I've always been told that, IT people are more so like, geeks, I guess, they're just, not cool. They don't do cool things, but that's just not true. Brad, for example, Brad's a really cool guy. He's got nice cars. He's got a nice house. He's interested into golfing. Everybody's a person, they have a soul. They have things that they want to do. And just because your career is in IT doesn't mean that's going to define you, indefinitely. So, I mean,
when you say that, I think of maybe the stereotypical person, Jimmy Fallon, doing Nick Burns, your company computer guy, where he's constantly berating people and telling them they're stupid, and maybe maybe the idea of someone being in the basement wanting to play games in a dark corner, and you're saying that's not the mold of everybody, because Brad's very, very outgoing, and he doesn't fit what a stereotypical IT person would be.
Right. And I think that's just most people. If you just take the time to talk to them, figure out, what they find as a hobby, you might work on a car or, anything just to bond over. So, yeah, I wouldn't just assume, never judge a book by its cover.
You were talking about bonding. That made me think about, in this case too, I imagine at food fair too, you had to be personable with the customers, that type of thing. What differences do you see, or is there differences between a customer you would have had helped the food fair versus a customer you're helping at Digit 3?
I say the biggest difference is just the questions asked. I mean, they're obviously two completely different careers. So, we deal with a lot of older clients who really have no clue on what this new tech is. So you really have to take your time and explain it to them. So, they understand each step or each phase of what you're doing or what needs to be done. As for food fair, I mean, it's really straight to the point, Yeah, beef, sirloin beef is better than, ground beef, less fat, just things like that. In IT, it's a little bit more discreet. You gotta explain it. You gotta let them know what you're doing so they don't, lose their mind.
Fair enough. But I mean, I also would think too, you want to approach it, like you were saying earlier, bonding over something.
Yeah.
From a personable nature. You probably have a longer conversation with somebody in IT than you would,
Absolutely.
peas are on aisle 5 type of thing. But I would say, do you think your food fair experience helped you in any way with Digit 3?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Communication is a big one. You have to be able to communicate, especially in the IT field. I do tons of jobs, different jobs, multiple jobs a day. So being able to talk to them, figure out their problem, and, just understanding from their standpoint what you need to do, a lot easier. It just makes things easier for you and the client. And it, also makes your name good. They continue to ask for you, or, they call the office, tell Brad and Wendy that you're doing a good job. That's a good look on not just Digit 3, but you. So, I mean, I think food fair really did help me with, communication and hospitality, I guess, towards other individuals.
Something you said there made me think of a good point. When you were at food fair and also when you're Digit 3, you are just not representing yourself. You are representing that company. If someone says, "Where's the peas?" and you're like, "You're an idiot. Like, you don't know where the peas are," they may not want to shop at food fair because they may not think you're going to be there. And the same thing's true with Digit 3. When you're helping people, they may leave the business because they think you're going to be there. So it's useful to keep in mind that it's not just you're representing, that you're representing the company, and you'd like to keep your job so you won't repeat business coming back to that
Right.
company. Talking about communicating with people, one of the things we talk about here at Mount West, like one of the areas we're studying in is cultural intelligence. And so for us, I always feel the cultural intelligence aspect is you are the IT guy. You've come here for 2 years. You've gotten all this knowledge. What tips or tricks do you use to help convey your very technological background to somebody who's not a technical person to help them solve their problem? How do you communicate with them in that regard?
Um, obviously be respectful towards them. Even if you have to, walk them through it. We do that all the time. We have people come in or call in even, their keyboard's not working or they have wireless keyboards, so their keyboard dies. They need to replace batteries. So, I mean, I wouldn't, I would really just say, try and, understand it from their perspective. Maybe you're learning something new and you need some questions, like you're in class, you have a question. So just look at it as if you're learning too. It would really help. And, I feel like that'll also help grow bonds with clients and you'll be asked for more. It's just a good rep.
No, I agree. And I feel like in this day and age, empathy is in short supply. So being able to put yourself in their shoes and be like, I understand you're frustrated. I'd be very frustrated as well. Let me try my best here to get you back to work so that everything's good. It's a good look and it puts them at ease. So is there any advice you would have based on people about to go into their internship? Maybe someone hasn't had a job before, or maybe they haven't had an IT job, and there's always fearful of the unknown for those factors. Like, how was it for you? Was it easier than you expected? What tips and tricks would you have for them? That type of thing, based on your experience.
I would say don't be scared to ask questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. I ask hundreds of questions a day. I actually think I aggravate them with as many questions as I ask, but they're not going to be ashamed, or you shouldn't be ashamed for asking questions, especially if you don't know. Another thing that I would do is if you're doing something and it looks weird or something, take a quick picture of it so you can continue to look at it. I've done that with keystones when doing wiring, just so I can get the wiring patterns down. Also, take pictures of your finished work so you're able to show other people and you're able to, do these things outside of your job and make extra additional money and grow the experience that you need to continue to excel in your job.
That's all great stuff. And I don't think anyone's ever talked about like taking pictures of your work, but no, I'm with you because, I used to keep a picture of the pinouts for like a RJ45, like just so I could easily look there and reference. Pictures worth 1,000 words. You could always double check your work there and your finished products. I would throw out there for you if you've done a product like that or whatever, and it's not a confidential thing. That could be something you put in your portfolio and explain, this is a project I did and here's all the wiring I did. So I think you can see how nice this looks. And that can be an excellent way to go ahead and show off your project. So that's excellent advice. Before I turn over for questions, you are the first student I've had that's worked at Digit 3. So I wondered if you might be able to kind of give us the lay of the land, like what a normal day looks like for Isaiah there, like the types of jobs they've got you doing, to where if people are thinking, I want to go work at Digit 3, they can have an idea about the knowledge you've had and what you've learned.
So Digit 3 is, there's supposed to be a computer management company. However, we do tons of installs. That's actually been something Brad enforces, the installs thing. When I first go in, I typically just, clock in, do the regular things, but we have a calendar on Outlook, and the calendar has each day and what I'm scheduled to do for each day, but you can also look at everybody else's schedule. So, my job, I just go out and, I'll do installs. Say I did an install the other day. I did a firewall install for, Frankenstein Dentist. It's down on 3rd Avenue in Huntington.
Would that be like software on the computer or a physical appliance?
A physical
Okay.
firewall.
Gotcha.
And You can, at Digit 3, you can ask to be trained on certain different things. I've asked to have a specific network training because I've lacked in networking a lot. Just because my first year was rough trying to get into the the mix of things. But if you're interested in, taking phone calls or, doing anything, they're willing to fold over and give it whatever you need. All of them, Daniel and Jeff are the directors of Digit 3. That's pretty much who I answer to. They're really cool guys. I mean, any questions you guys or you would have, or if you have an idea on what you wanting to do something, they can help you. If you want to do your own home lab, they will provide you a micro and memory for it, so you can practice at home, get better at it.
That's cool.
But overall, Digit 3 is a really great company. If you're interested in doing on-site installs, or if you're just interested in sitting behind the computer and taking calls, they can make it happen.
And so based on that, the majority of their customers are local, so you may have to drive out to them, that type of thing to do on site.
I think the farthest client we have is maybe 3.5 hours.
Well, I mean, I think in Tiva, they take a phone call from California. They're not driving there.
Right. Yeah. The farthest company we have is maybe 3.5, 4 hours. So everywhere we go is pretty much drivable, and we'll have to go eventually at some point.
And I would say, based on you talking about the things you want to learn, the idea there is you say, hey, if we have a client that needs to have a new firewall put in, please let me go out and help that day because I want to get that experience. You're just kind of throwing your hat in the ring to be like, I want to be on that, please.
Yeah. Or if, they're setting up a new server for a client, you can ask to shadow while they set it up. You can see how they do it. I've shadowed a few times. I've shadowed while we were doing GPO things. We were doing, I've personally pushed software to clients' computers before too, but I had to shadow to learn how to do that. So, I mean, at Digit 3, if you're interested in going, if whatever you want to do, they can help you.
Okay.
Just whatever. I mean, the biggest thing is asking. You just gotta know how to ask, when to ask. I mean, they're not, I don't know how to put it. They're not like needy. You know what I'm saying? They'll do whatever you need.
Well, I will say it's, you talked about asking, that can paralyze some people to be able to say, I don't want them to think I don't know stuff. And it can get you in real trouble. I feel like most tragedies and plays in Shakespeare are about the fact that somebody has knowledge and somebody else doesn't, like a Romeo and Juliet, like I'm going to stab myself because that poison wasn't real. So like, did you just personally decide, you know what, this is my future, and so I'm going to bite the bullet and ask a question if I need to? Because I feel like there were times that I was in situation, even as an IT person in the beginning, where I was afraid to act like I was dumb and didn't know the answer. So like, where did that come from for you?
So when I learned to ask things, I more have turned them into an option, or hey, I can do this if you want me to. You know what I'm saying? It's not really an ask. It's just like letting them know, hey, I can do this, or I have the time to do this. For example, technically my internship was supposed to end in December, but I said, hey, if you guys need extra hands, I can be here till May, and I'm there till May, till I graduate. I'm at Digit 3, and even there's been times that I've worked 5 full days. If you need it, just offer it. Offer your hands for help.
I gotcha. And that becomes a win-win for you. You get more time. They see, wow, he's really taking an interest. So, I mean, people would love to see self-starters. If you're a self-starter out there, I hear people lament the fact that like we did an Indeed post and all these people applied and these people quit in 3 days. And I keep on wanting to tell them, come to me. I got students who are hungry for this knowledge and hungry to work for you. So that's a great mentality to have out there. So I want to open it up here. Does anybody out there on Zoom have any questions today for Isaiah about his experience here or Digit 3? I have a random one here I have an assumption about, but hours? Are they Monday through Friday, like 9 to 5? Is that what you guys typically are? Have a phone you take home or in case of emergencies type of thing?
So technically we are we have two different schedules, I guess you could say. So most of the office goes on 8 to 4:30, get your 30-minute break. But we have two other guys that stay from 8:30 to 5. So we're always open till 5. Anybody can call in, but if you want an on-site tech, you should probably call in at least before noon, because depending on where you are located, it's going to be pretty hard to get you there. So, yeah, I mean, they're really lenient, or
they're pretty flexible with your scheduling.
Yeah. If you need a day off, they'll give you a day off. You might have to, apply for it, get it approved, but they're cool. They don't care about, as long as you're willing to work. And if there's days like snow days, like we've had some really bad weather here recently, we have personal laptops that we can take home and we can just remote into our actual desktops and work on, or we could just work straight from the laptop if we wanted.
Okay.
So they give you options. If you get sick, you can still get your hours in and work. Or if you just need a day off, a day from work, you can take your PTO and you don't have to work.
Daniel asked a question here. What certifications do you currently have? Or to possibly amend that, what things have they talked to you at work? It would be useful if you had this type of thing. Like, what certifications would you want to get based on the work you're doing at Digit 3 if you don't have them yet?
So at Digit 3, I do not personally have any certifications, but I can tell you that most of the guys at Digit 3 honestly haven't even renewed their certifications. I wouldn't say it's based on certification there. I would say it's really just based on schooling. They're really big on schooling, on what degree you have. We just hired Braxton. He was hired on before I got there, but he has a master's in cybersecurity. So, but he has no certifications. But I mean, they don't really weigh that thing or that stuff there. They look at what you can do, what you can produce, what numbers you're producing. And if you're good with clients and good with the coworkers, they don't look at certifications and schooling. They try to look at your schooling, but it's more so how you are with the company itself. It's not really about what you already have. It's about what you could bring, I guess.
I will say, from the outside looking in, my assumption, knowing that Wendy is a lawyer by trade, knowing that they're helping clients go ahead and get like their certification posture or their cybersecurity posture in place for insurance, an area I hardly ever talk about is GRC, governance. I've even forgot what the acronym stands for, but a lot of times in government, making sure people are following the guidelines of ISO, that type of thing. There's a whole like GIAC, like there's practitioners in that arena that we don't even talk about, because we talk about certification when it comes to networking or Microsoft type of thing. That may be an interesting area to look at there, because I know if they're talking with a city, for example, besides the fact that they've got Microsoft computers and Cisco devices, there's a lot of laws and regulations they have to follow. So that might be something in that wheelhouse for them potentially. But it's good to know that they're sizing you up based on the information you have, the knowledge you have, and then hopefully in the interview they're asking pointed questions to see if you actually know your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my first day, I had to build a micro from scratch. They had the motherboard and everything else laying out on the desk, and I had to build it, which they helped if I had questions. But it's a challenge from day one, and it's just really how you adapt to it. If you give up, then you may not make it, But if you just keep working, have faith in yourself, have faith in the company, you'll make it through. It's simple.
And for people out there, the micro, I'm assuming, will be like a dumb terminal, like a Weiss box, a microcomputer where everything's going to be stored someplace else. But I think like in a doctor's office, they don't put machines in there because then all those medical records are there. They have a small little device that then connects to a virtual machine somewhere else. Is that what we're talking about with a micro?
No, a micro is an actual computer. It's a micro optiplex. It's just a small computer, works and runs the same way as a big tower would, But yeah, it connects right there on your desk. I have one. Um, most doctor offices we work in have their own offices, so we really don't put anything out like computers like that for the public to even be able to see. So there really isn't much of like, your computer's in a closet and we're connecting you out here. It's more so like we just got these little boxes, or a lot of people who choose to use surfaces. They like to be mobile, be able to have their tablet, laptop, whatever it is, anywhere at any time. So, I mean, the more that I work, the more laptops I see and less, desktops, because a lot of people are mobile. They like to be able to move with their things.
That makes sense. I mean, I think about, I've had to take my daughters to Marshall Health before.
Mhm.
And in the examination room, I think about years ago, they'd have a big old tower computer there, to have a hard drive in there. But now they have a little tiny box that connects back to a virtual machine. So that way, in case a patient decides, well, I'm going to steal that computer, there's no medical records there. But like you say, with a tablet or whatever, or even with a laptop, you're connecting to a website that's somewhere else. That data is stored elsewhere to where the public in that examination room can't get to that. So I'm with you there. Cool. Any other questions out there today for Isaiah about his time here or Digit 3? Has there been a time for you? Can you think of a time where you were in one of our classes, you were doing something, and then the next week or the next month, you're like, I just did this in class. I'm doing it live here. I think we were talking off mic about my summer class.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can think of a couple of things. Even recently, Zan has been having us help with the racks in his room. I've had to deal with a couple of punch down panels. And then I turn around and do termination for Digit 3. I do that all the time. As for your class, I know it's a little back in the summer, but we have done a lot of things with domains at Digit 3 that we did back in your class. Yeah, I would say I do a lot more. It's just hard to really understand it from that perspective because it's different. It's never the same.
I guess the reason why I like to bring up the question is people always are scared of the unknown. And they're just like, I assume that every single day I'm going to go, my worst nightmare is I'm going to go in and they're going to ask me to do something I've never done before. So, I mean, have you had that point to where you were just like, oh crap, I've never done this? Or has there been some thread of something we've talked about in class where you're like, oh, I generally know that, but I need to know some more?
I would say yeah. On the networking side, just in general, like I said, I had a really hard time adjusting to it because really coming into Mount West, I didn't really have any experience. So I came in, and when I go to Digit 3 and they're working with firewalls and configuring firewalls and switches and servers, I sometimes get lost, but when they refresh me like, oh yeah, I'm just setting a static IP or, things like that. Yeah, I mean, certain words and phrases really, you can spark some things going on up there, but where everything is just done visually different, it's hard to really look back and be like, oh, well, maybe I have. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely words, phrases, comments that refresh my mind on some things that Scott's went over, you or Gary or Zan even. So yeah, I can definitely.
Along those lines, you talking about setting up stuff. Rodney asks here, do you enjoy working more on the physical hardware side of things versus the software and networking side of things? Like, where do you, when you come in and you're like, this is a good day because I'm doing X, Y, and Z, what's your go-to favorite things there?
I love to do installs, man. I love being on the hardware side. I'm a pretty talkative person. I like having conversations with people, but I also like doing things with my hands. So I like doing installs and cable runs and things like that. Wall mounts for racks and hanging TVs, humongous TVs, doing stuff like that. I've done a lot of work for a lot of cool people. I've done TV mounts for Lawrence County Courthouse. Today actually I just did the what are they called? Tough books. You know what tough books are?
Oh yeah, the ones they like a roll that they take a car and they'll drive over them type of thing. Like they're so built indestructible laptops.
Yeah. I set up 7 of them today for Lawrence County Sheriff's Department. So, and those things they're huge. So, Yeah, I really like the hardware side. I like being able to touch and feel on things and, tear them down, put them back together. I tear down computers to pull their hard drives all the time and then destroy them. I really like being on the hardware side. I think you get a lot of the networking side too, even being on the hardware side,
Sure.
because you have to know how the things work to be able to plug them in.
Yeah,
So
connect them together. Sure.
yeah, it's like a double-bladed sword. So it'll work out. But definitely the hardware side if I had to choose.
Gotcha. Well, Isaiah, thank you so much for coming in, talking to us about your experience here through the cybersecurity program and with Digit 3 and Mount West in general.
No problem. I thank you for having me.
Thanks.